welcome to the Crafty View. I'm Diane Williams, the host for the show, and my guest today, I'm excited to say, is Kent Follette, and he's living in Gonzales, Louisiana, near Baton Rouge. And we're going to take a look at him working in his studio. And I wonder if you could guess what type of craftsman he is by looking at him and doing his work. Kent, hello, how are you?
Man, I'm good, Diane. I'm really good. I'm out here working on some milk jug bases. You know, when I was a little boy, my mom always kept a quart glass milk jug. That's telling you how old I am, on the counter. And the kids were responsible for making sure that there were always flowers in it. So I've got a little yard with lots of plants in it. So I started making these for my wife. And they started to market. We sold a bunch. And so now it's a mainstay in my pottery, milk jug bases.
Talk about the techniques you're using. I notice you're wetting and you're using your hands to mold and shape.
Well, the clay, you can get it to do anything you want it to do, but when it's spinning, what you really want to do is you want it to be slick so your hands will slide. But a little bit of water is fine, but too much water is terrible. So water is not clay's friend. So I'm gonna press it out now.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to shape it the way I want it. I like them with a little bulge at the bottom. Come up here. And this tool right here is called a rib. And I guess in the old time, potters would actually use a rib to do this. But you know, this is plastic and it's a little more forgiving than a bone rib or a wooden rib. And I got different sizes and shapes. There's a good little clay supply here at Baton Rouge. But you know, Baton Rouge is a big city. By the time I drive across town, it takes 2 hours to go and come, get the clay loaded up, and get back down here to the house. So I'm really pretty much a homebody now. We're down here. I was living in North Louisiana in Ruston. Had a really nice shop up there, but my grandson's down here, and I'm down here spoiling a perfectly good grandson. That's my real life.
How much clay do you buy at any one time?
Well, you know, I got rid of my truck. I'm downsizing everything. So I get about 600 pounds a month, and that works out fine. I've got the way we mark, I'm gonna choke this in right here, okay? I'm gonna squeeze it at the bottom, and it's gonna replicate a flower. I really like flowers, so this is all right.
Yeah.
So I'll take a sponge and clean that up when I get done and get ready to load it up in the kiln. This is a cone 6 clay. I've got an electric kiln that we use to fire in. And let me do this. This is one that's finished. Okay.
Nice.
This is, and it shrinks quite a bit. It shrunk 12% from the time when that one comes out of the kiln, it'll be 12% smaller. So you've got to take that into consideration. You know, if you're making bowls to serve beans out of something like that, you want to have enough bowl there to put some serious beans in it, red beans. So we make it 12% bigger. I got a ruler, I figured it all out with.
So you paint the bowl, you paint the vessels and everything?
Well, yeah, Libby and I do that together. These are all glazes that are my glazes that I mix from scratch. I buy 50-pound bags of materials I'll buy a bag of silica sand, flint, and a bag of kaolin clay and ball clay and whiting and different things. And you get a basic recipe off the internet and says, you need this. Well, I'll do it. And, I'm a chef. It's like cooking gumbo. I throw in a pinch extra and change it around. I've got it written down, but, these are all mine. There's a lot of people who do store-bought glazes, but I'm real old school and we mix them from scratch.
You mentioned someone that helps you. Who was that you mentioned?
That's my lovely wife, Libby. It's amazing. We met in art school. That's about this time. I discovered Libby and clay at the same time. I could get my hands around it and squeeze it. I get the clay to do what I want to do, but hell, I haven't ever been able to get her to do what I want to do, So we've been married 52 years now. And we had, I had the big adventure. We were in Ruston, Louisiana. And we ended up in graduate school in Wichita. And Libby's a designer, so she worked with NCR. She was designing lead screws for printers and stuff like that back in the day. Real great designer. And I got a job at Loyola in Chicago, and we were real happy. We didn't have any kids at the time. When the kids started showing up, we wanted to get back home. So we moved to Ruston, Libby's hometown. I got my 40 acres out in the woods. I thought that was going to be great. And we built a studio and built a house. And we had a little gift shop out there. It turned out to be real successful. People would come from all over to come visit the gift shop. We had it on the pond, in the woods, and everybody get out of the car and go, oh, this is a wonderful way to live. And I'd think, it is, but it's still work. And so I was doing well, and she had an interior design business in North Louisiana, designing houses and all of those things. And her business exploded in the 90s. And about that time, mine exploded. And we got into the gallery started finding out about us, and I needed some help.
The gallery? Which gallery?
All sorts of galleries all over. Up until then, I was selling at the Guild shop, the Mississippi Craftsmen's Guild, the Craftsmen's Guild of Mississippi shop. They had one on the Trace. It was little, and I was selling there, and I was doing the festival, the Chimneyville Christmas Festival. And between those two, business was good, and I was getting along okay. I had a couple little shops and stuff that were buying my stuff, but I had the opportunity to be at the big time market in Philadelphia. They had 1,000 artists underneath 10-acre roof from all over the United States, and it was very prestigious to get in it at the time. And I went, my business exploded. I had to hire a couple of people, and Libby was trying to get me to close down and work with her, and I didn't want to pick white paint out for people and handle rugs and carpets. So I made her a job offer. And I'm gonna tell you, Diane, I know a lot about women. So she offered me twice what I was making, which was a pretty good salary. And I offered her half of what she was making, which wasn't beans. But see, I knew, this is how long ago this was. It was back in the day. I told her if she worked with me, she'd never, ever have to wear pantyhose ever again to work as long as she lived. So man, 2 weeks later, I got me a helper. Well, 2 weeks after that, she decided she was my partner. And then 2 weeks after that, I was working for her, Diane. And you explained how that happens.
Oh my.
She took over the facility. I had to sweep and clean and keep the place nice. And it was great. We were working together. We really enjoyed each other's company. And she worked on the glazes and the decorations and used her design ability to get what I was doing up to the next level. And it really paid off. So she was in charge of the glazing and decorating. I'd make the pots. And as time went on, we had an old shack out there. We turned into a gift shop. So she ran the retail end of the business too, which exploded.
Tell me about your studio there. Well, you're in your studio now.
Well, I started off in a 2-car garage back in Chicago when I was teaching at Loyola University of Chicago behind the house. And it was the right size for one guy. So when I came and quit teaching, you know, I'd rather make pots than teach people to make pots. We moved to Ruston. I set a 2-car garage studio up and had my kiln and everything else I needed there, and it was fine. And as time went on, we had to add a little space here and a little space there. So we went from 700 square feet. I had eventually had a 6,500 square foot studio. I had 14 employees. We were buying clay by the semi-load directly from the mine. We had 350 galleries all over the United States would buy everything that we made, and it was rolling pretty good. And we got hit with the recession, like everybody, you know, in 2000 and early 2000, and it put their businesses went flat. It was ready for them to retire. So I just started shutting things down slowly but surely. And it just dawned on me. I said, I could do this by myself with no employees, and move down to Baton Rouge and spoil that grandbaby. So that's what we did.
That's what you did.
Yeah.
So did you build this studio where you're at now? Did you build it yourself, or?
Oh no, I'm too old for all that. The one in Ruston, I got a chainsaw and cut my way into that woods, a box of nails, hammer and saw, and I built all of that. And I built the first one by myself, and it took me about 6 months to get it done, but I'd never done anything like that before, and I was real proud of it when I got done. And as time went on, we'd have barn raisers and have friends come out and do it. But when we left Ruston to move down here, we looked at all the houses over here in Gonzales and Prairieville. And we got here one morning about 10 o'clock. They were just listening. They opened it up at 10. And I walked down the driveway, and it had a garage out back. So I ran and looked in the garage. And man, the guy had it before was an engineer. There was plugs everywhere. It was insulated. It was oh man, it's just exactly what I needed. And there's a beautiful little patio between the house and the studio, these big crepe myrtles. And I could just see a nice table out there and utilizing that. And Libby came out of the house with a big smile on her face. She said, "This is the one, I want to buy it." I said, "Well, I'm going to buy that garage. You buy the house. You want to look at the garage?" She said, "If you say it's okay, it's okay." I said, "Well, at least let me look in the house." She said, "Oh, you're going to love it." And I went in. It was beautiful. Exactly what two people our age needed. Small, well done. And we made a guy offer. So now I'm moving into a little bitty studio with all these tools and everything. And I'm all set and good to go. I didn't miss a thing.
Let me ask you something. A lot of times potters have something that's a signature. I'm not talking about your initials per se. Sometimes there's a fingerprint. Sometimes there's something that identifies that pottery to the artist. Do you have anything like that identified?
Oh, you mean like a nick or a crack? No, man. I'll tell you what I do. I've got a tool, and it's called I use the fleur-de-lis. And my family has been down here on this chenier along the Mississippi River 7 generations. You know, we came out of Nova Scotia through Acadiana, and ended up down here. And there's not a lot of Follettes around, but every time everybody gets going real well, a hurricane tries to wash us away, and we ain't leaving. We ain't got no place we'd rather be. So I've got this little tool right here, and it's got a fleur-de-lis on it. So when I make a pot, I put a handle on it. And if you'll look around on my pieces, there it is right there. I take this stamp when the clay's wet, and I squeeze it on there, and that's a fleur-de-lis.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for the resilience of my family and all the things we've lived through and put together. You know, the last big Katrina came through. My brother lived in St. Bernard Parish. When I was in high school, his house got washed away. And it was terrible. Almost lost everybody. But he got an SBA loan, 30 years, rebuilt. He called me the day he paid that 30-year loan off. He said, man, we paid it off. We're going to have a party. I said, wonderful. It wasn't 6 weeks later, he didn't call me. He said, Katrina's coming. We're running. We're going to come up and live with y'all for a while. And it washed him away again. So it's just that sort of thing continuously, that the life is so good down here. You know, I mean, you're here.
Yeah.
And it's about the people and the culture. So that's my deal. I put that fleur-de-lis on to remind me that no matter what happens and what sadness enters my life or happiness, that we're resilient and we can handle it.
You said in the 90s and going forward, your business was successful. What do you think made it so successful? Was it customer relationships? Was it the items that you were making? What is it about the things you've chosen to make?
Yeah, that's a real funny question. And I can tell you exactly what happened. I'd always wanted to learn. My daddy, when I left home, he gave me the red beans and rice recipe the family had. So I took that with me and a 50-pound bag of rice. And that's what I had. I went off to college. I said, I can eat and do this. But we got up to Chicago and the winters were cold. I want to learn how to make bread. So I made a special pot, a cloche, that you could let the bread rise in. And it was a big seller because you could do other things with it. I made the bread recipe for it. And then I started doing some little craft shows and stuff. You know, with that Chimneyville, we'd take them to Chimneyville and put them out. And I was cooking chicken and roasting it. So I wrote a recipe up there was a cartoon character in BC comic books called the Fat Broad. And it's politically incorrect right now, but back in those days it wasn't, because she was always making bread. So it's called the Fat Broad's Easy Loaf. And we put a little reference in there to BC comic books. And then we had a roast. So I know you soak meat in wine. So I put cheap beef and good wine. And I had a chicken. I had cheap wine and good chicken recipes. So you could cook those three things in it. And the top would come off of it. And I could do all this and talk. And people really enjoyed it. Well, I had an opportunity to have a show at the museum in El Dorado, Arkansas. And the lady that did the show said, well, part of it, you got to go on Kay Wright's Noonday show. So that old squeaky lady on there, Kay Wright, this is Potpourri Noonday. So she said, I want you to come be on the show. And I want you to cook something in that bread pot, because we have a kitchen and you can cook on it. So in the middle of the interview, talking about my pottery and what I did, she said, what are you going to cook next week when you come, Kent? And man, I'm never for a loss for words, but I knew it was Monday. I said, well, I'm from New Orleans. It's going to be red beans and rice every Monday forever. She said, well, come on. So we went back that next time, and I had a red beans and rice recipe with some of my pottery bowls. And you called in, I'd send you the recipe. So we would do 4 shows on one day. And we'd air them out all during the month. So every month I had to come up with 4 recipes for my pottery. And I had a pile of them. And one of the things that happened was I started putting these recipes out with my pie dishes, crawfish pie recipe or pecan pie recipe with my dishes. And it increased my sales.
Wow.
It was, if you get one of my pie dishes, that's a pie dish. But if you get one of my pie dishes with a crawfish recipe in it, crawfish pie recipe, you want to go home and try it. And I realized that all the recipes had to be simple and quick, because if people know how to cook, one thing, but people who don't know how to cook, they want something quick and easy that they can do. So we do simple recipes. I had plenty of recipes for everything, because we cooked for about, maybe 3 years with her. And then she retired, and that was good for me, because it was a day out of my life, and I'd got tired of it. And when Libby came to work with me, one of the things she said I will do is, I said, what do you want to do here? She said, I want to write a cookbook. Take all your recipes and put in a cookbook. So we wrote a cookbook. And I said, well, when in the hell are we going to do that? She said, we'll get up an hour early every morning. So we'd be up there at 6 o'clock, and she'd be typing in the recipes for, jambalaya or something like that. So we'd get it all done, and we'd go home and we'd cook it and test it that evening and come back the next morning and clear up what was wrong with it. So we got the cookbook put out, and it was a big seller.
Can we see some of your work?
Yeah, sure. Look, it's right here behind me.
I know some things are functional, usable, not just sitting on the shelf.
No, I'm going to show you what. All right, let's see something. Okay. Hey. Golly.
You had it.
I lost it. I touched the computer. Okay, I'm still here. Let's see.
Okay, while you're looking for that, I'm gonna ask you a question. Have you ever seen it? I've seen a piece of pottery that looks like a bundt cake pan. It's a round vessel, like a bowl, but then it has a funnel in the middle, and you could take a chicken tiny and put it on there in that pottery.
Beer can chicken bake. We sold tons of those. Those were great, And my son studied with John Foltz. John Foltz is a friend of mine. He wandered up the driveway one day. I didn't know who the guy was. It's just another smart aleck from South Louisiana. And we hit it off right away. And he asked me, he said, hey, Kent, you want to cook on my TV show? I said, well, have your people call my people, because I thought he was kidding. Well, his people did call my people. So I cooked with John Foltz for a while. So when my son got ready to make a career decision in his life, he went down and studied with John Foltz. And when we got back to the beer can chicken baker, I was cooking one. He said, oh, Daddy, you know what you need to do? And he put mushrooms and potatoes and carrots and sausage around the outside of it. So all that juice from the chicken boiled down on it. Now, beer, unless it's a really dark beer, will make the chicken sour. But if you use a really dark beer like a Guinness, it's got sugar in it and makes it sweeter. And then, I lived in North Louisiana. A lot of people up there don't use alcohol. So we started doing things like with orange drinks. I'm a big fan of ginger ale. So we used all of those things to steam it up and to change it. But those are really good. But one of the things that I make is, this is what I call a bread pot. Okay, and this is beer bread. And we sell a lot of these at Chimneyville, at the Gill shop out on the Trace. And Martha, Miss Cox is always calling me up going, we need some more of those bread pots. So this is one of the bread pots. This is a can of beer and 3 cups of flour, and you mix it all up in here, and there's the fleur-de-lis. Can you see it at the bottom? So when you bake it up, you get a fleur-de-lis on the bottom of the pot right there. But this thing we use for all sorts of other things. It's our go-to pot in the kitchen. We're going to warm up a can of vegetables. We do that. We want to make some soup. This is a great big soup bowl. And we can use it as a serving piece at the dinner table. And it comes with the recipe. I've got a web page if you want to find my recipes. FollettePottery.com. I've got all the recipes on there. Go help yourself.
And that's FOLLETTE.
FollettePottery.com.
Okay.
Or Kent Follette. I'm on the internet more than anybody else in the whole world. You just punch in Follette, put in pottery guy and I might show up. You don't know. But I've got 3 glazes right now that we're using specifically. And we're using this white glaze, and this is called Farmhouse White. And I will run this for a year or 2, and then I'll get tired. I'll change it out to something else. So recently I started using, this is a turquoise glaze that we do. And it's got the fleur-de-lis and in the bottom and everything. And it comes with the recipe for the bread. But you let your imagination go, wow, you can do all sorts of things with it. Now, a million years ago, there was a thing called a Potpourri Steamer. It's a little coffee cup with a bowl on top of it. And you put potpourri in it and a candle underneath it and it steamed the whole house up. Well, that went real well for a long time. And we took that, when it quit, we took the bowl on the top and we made a thing called the Cajun Egg Cooker. Just a little bowl, but with recipes that told you how to put Tabasco sauce in your eggs so it was spicy. So there you go, baby. You got a Cajun egg. Well, the Cajun fad died, you know, and I had these bowls and we had plenty of them around and I was working on them and I made some little stems to go in that bowl. And I made my wife a little flower arrangement thing, an Ikebana flower arrangement. I'm always trying to design new things, and you know, and I know what the right word is as a designer. If a lady says that's cute, you've hit a home run. That's so she thought it was really cute. So we made some and took them to a show in Alabama. We sold every one of them. So it has morphed into this now. This is a cup bottom, and we did, there's the fleur-de-lis, and we've got these
up a little bit.
We've got these 3 stem holders right in here, and there's a slit in it. So you put the water in here, and then these flowers go through here. And I'm a big believer in good luck. So I put a penny on it. This is a lucky penny. And I got a little card that comes with it, and it guarantees you 3 wishes. Absolutely guaranteed. And if it doesn't happen, if you'll contact me, and nobody in all the years making this, no one's ever called except one woman, okay? So everybody's wishes must be coming true. So you get 3 guaranteed wishes. Now, this is not a reflection on the Gill shop out there on the Trace, but the one woman did call. She called from New Jersey, and she said, "You're in trouble." I said, "No, what's the matter?" She said, "I bought my wish bowl at the Gill shop in Jackson." She said, "I didn't get a lucky penny." I said, "Lady, I'm gonna send you a lucky penny." So I mailed her a lucky penny, and she sent me a note back saying, "Oh yeah, it's working already." So I like to have fun with what I do.
Yeah, you're very unique, and you've come up with some incentives that really draw customers. I'll bet you have to have more than one booth at Chimneyville. Chimneyville's the show in December that used to be down at the Trade Mart downtown. Yeah. It was a great festival atmosphere and everything.
Yeah. Well, you know, the business part of my life is very important. Young kids come up to me all the time and go, I just love this. Go, "Mr. Kent, I want to be just like you when I grow up." I go, "Right." Say, "I'm getting out of college." I said, "Okay, well, here's this what I suggest that you do. You spend the first part of your day working in the studio, working as hard as you possibly can, because that's what my high energy is. You pick your high energy point and make sure that you go in there, lock the door, and get your 4 hours in of productivity. And then the next 4 hours of your day, take care of your business." And nowadays with the internet and web pages and all the different pop-up markets and all the things that are available to you, the world's open. It's not hidden like it was when in the beginning of all this. So you can see lots of work and see where people are going, but spend your time taking care of your business, making sure that you contact your shops, your galleries, ask them if they need anything. Make sure you take your time to wrap it, pack it, and ship it, and do all the business end. The art end, that's the fun part. The hard part's the business part, but you can't do what I'm doing unless you pay attention to business.
Have you ever sold cookbooks along with the pottery?
Oh, we sold all the cookbooks, and you know, it's time to redo the cookbook, because when we did that cookbook, I mean, I got a pecan pie that calls for at least 1 stick of butter. And my wife, you know, now that we're older, she goes, we don't want that butter in the house. You'll have to leave that in the trunk of the car, because you bring that in here, you'll eat all of it. And I go, oh, hell, yes, I am going to eat all of it. So, you know, we're looking at new things. The cookbook was really nice. It was a story about Libby and I and the family, and how all families gather around the kitchen, and how everybody participates in the meals and different things. And, you know, the pottery that I make, you know, if I make a bowl for somebody and it's used, grandma uses it, and you know, grandma passes away, I'll invariably get a call from one of the kids. You made my grandmother a bowl, and she promised to me, but my stinking sister got there before I did. She got the bowl and won't give it to me. Can you make me one just like you made for grandma? And you get that sort of stuff. The families now, and having done it as long as I have, grandkids of people who bought my pottery in the very beginning. I remember the parents coming. They were tech, and their kids were rolling around. As they grew up, they wanted stuff for their kitchen. Now kids are coming. So, you know, after 52 years, I'm here, and there's just, it makes me feel so good that families collect my work.
That is wonderful. And that's what we like to see, preservation and perpetuation of the art form from generation to generation. Tell me, you're affiliated with the Craftsmen's Guild of Mississippi, which is located at 950 Rice Road in Ridgeland, Mississippi, in the Bill Waller Craft Center. And
Yeah.
it's over there near the Cock of the Walk. What does it mean to you to be a member of the Guild? Oh,
you know, when I quit being a college professor and I was going to be just a potter, I had a friend recommend that I go over and take a look. And he was a potter in Louisiana, and I went over and took a look at it, and it was on the trace. And Martha Garrett was there, and I showed her. I brought in a little box.
Yeah. And Martha was the former director.
Stuff, and I said, "This is what I make." And she said, "Oh, join." She said, "Yeah, we will jury you in, and if your work's good enough, we'll jury you for every 3 years and for 9 years, and then you become a full-fledged member. You've got to stand at the gate." And I did anything that was with the guild was always first class, and it's one of the top 10 guilds in the United States. This is a premier guild. And when they got the big shop out on the trace, I go over there and I'll look, and I'm looking at all the work in there. And it's not, every piece in there isn't made by a master craftsman. The best part about the guild is we're taking in young people who want to make this their life destination. Terrible when I got in there, and as I refined it and finished it and got better, other people in the guild mentored me. And you know, you put your pots out, and you don't want to be embarrassed by them, so you make sure they're a little better than they were last time. And everybody in the guild is the same way. We're all working to perfect our crafts, but the guild allowed me to be with some of the best potters in the South, and some of the best potters in the United States. And the Chimneyville Craft Show at Christmas exposed so many people into Jackson, into what was going on out on the trace, that it's one of the best things that's happened culturally in Jackson is the guild. And one of the best things that happened to a lot of crafts people, potters like myself, is the guild. So it's a win-win proposition for everybody. And all the guild members there's no secrets. If somebody wants to know what I'm doing, I share, because nobody can do what I do. And everybody is going to end up with their own design, but they'll take that knowledge that we share, and we all build.
Kent, this has been fabulous. Tell everyone how they can get in touch with you. What is your preferred method for them to get in touch with you?
Well, you know, I've got a really nice webpage, FollettePottery.com, and that's got, you know, my life story about how I grew up as a kid in Japan and how I got to where I am and what I do. It's got all the work that I have available, and they can email me and watch me on Facebook and all the other places. But if you'll go to Follette Pottery and Google it up, it'll pop up. But my favorite way to do it is I love driving up to Jackson from here and dropping a load of pottery off the Gill shop. There's a really nice bakery and delicatessen up there, north side. And my wife lets me go in and buy cookies. And I don't think $50 worth of cookies is too many cookies. So I buy a big box of cookies for everybody back home and try to put as big a dent in it as I possibly can on the ride home from dropping off. And the ladies at the, the ladies at the Guild, the paid employees are important, but the volunteers that volunteer and give their time and understand what's going on and know the importance and significance of it, those are the really unsung heroes. You've got to always thank the volunteers, from the ladies out there answering the telephone, and they're wonderful.
My last question, has Libby told you what to do to keep your hands soft after working with that clay? How do you keep
Yeah, she said soak them in beer. No, you know what? I've got the softest hands.
Really?
I've got the softest hands, and women are always coming up to me and said, let me feel your skin. And for some reason, the clay smooths them all out. They're not callous like I'm working with wood or anything. And I've got pretty nice hands.
Amazing. What are your last thoughts, Kent, before we go?
Well, I've got the best life of anybody that I know. I mean, I get to get up in the morning and come out to the studio and make pottery. The pottery that I make is collected and purchased by people, and they send me money, and I use that money to buy more clay, and been so good to me. I've got a wonderful wife and two great kids and great son-in-law. Wonderful grandson, smartest kid in the whole world, smartest grandson of them all. And so I'm blessed. I mean, I get to make pots and live life to its fullest.
You are blessed, and I really appreciate your taking the time to talk to me and the listeners, and thank you so very much. And I hope you have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, it's FollettePottery.com. Give me a call. Thank you.